Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is just a little bit after 11 p.m. on the East Coast here on IPMNation.com on the live channel. If you're tuning in tonight, chances are you probably already know what's going on. We're doing something a little different. Obviously, usually on Monday nights we do Retro Spectrum Radio, but we've deviated from that this evening because there has been a tragedy. We have lost another, for the second time in the last year, we've lost a member of the IPMNation.com family. Cheryl Maher passed away over the weekend. Cheryl Maher, of course, the host of the Maher Report, which runs on TV23 here in Manchester, New Hampshire, and we also carry it on IPMNation.com on the live channel. And I had the pleasure of being Cheryl's host on that program. Cheryl's co-host rather, and she passed away over the weekend. We won't discuss right now the whys and hows of what happened to her, but I can say that that she was taken from us forcefully. And I'm sure more details about that will emerge in the coming days. But we won't be taking any calls tonight. But if anyone wants to say something in the chat room, please feel free. On Wednesday on Norman Friends, from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern, we'll be spending the entire 2 hours of that devoted to Cheryl. We'll be taking calls for people who want to call in and talk about Cheryl and hopefully share some stories and memories. And that'll be kind of a tribute to her that day on Norman Friends, 4 to 6 on Wednesday, Eastern Time. So I wanted to just say a couple of things tonight. Obviously, it was a huge shock this morning to get the news. Mike Egan, our producer on the Maher Report, we talked on the phone for a few minutes, and I've just been in kind of a daze all day, to be honest with you. Just really shocking news. I was just amazed. You don't see anything like that coming. And Cheryl and I didn't work together for that long. I met Cheryl. She was a very good friend of Norm's, and she had come on to Norman Friends and had been a guest on that program with us, and we had a great time. We had a lot of fun having her on, and she was just a great guest. And then she decided to move ahead with her own television show, the Maher Report, on TV23, and very graciously asked me to be her co-host on that program, which of course I jumped at the chance. I was very glad, very happy to do that. And the Maher Report, she explained to me, it was going to be a politically oriented program, very different from what I was used to doing on Norman Friends, obviously, but she wanted me to kind of fill that same role, answer the phone, maybe provide some comic relief, but also provide some balance. Cheryl politically was a conservative Republican. And I'm an independent, I lean left in some ways. So she thought it would be a really good mix, and I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed doing that show with her, and I looked forward to it every week. And I was very impressed with Cheryl. Very articulate, very intelligent woman, very, very impressive. And I disagreed with her a lot, but she was the kind of person who, she didn't. If you disagreed with her, she didn't talk down to you. She didn't condescend. She didn't get upset. She could disagree without being disagreeable, as they say. And I wish there was more of that in the world. But she definitely had strong opinions, and a big part of what Cheryl wanted to do, her sort of mission statement, if you will, was that she wanted to make a difference in the world. And she wanted to help people. She wanted to help people to find their voice, and to help people deal with, some of the calls we would take from people on the show would just break your heart. People who called who'd been having a hard time, who were frustrated with the system, who had gone through a lot And Cheryl had gone through a lot. Cheryl had a very interesting life, and she had been through a lot. You know, she would kind of allude to it on the show without getting into details, without making it about her. But she had been through a lot, and you know, having gotten to know her a bit, I knew about some of what she had gone through, and it's more than most people ever have to deal with over the course of their lives. But she used everything she had gone through to make her stronger. You know, to not be afraid of life, to not sort of cower and just curl up. And you know, she used all that had happened to her to become a stronger person, and then wanted to in turn use that strength to help others who are having a hard time. And with her show, you know, her show had a political bent to it, because she felt that one of the ways that she could make a difference in the world was to have a forum in which she could talk about her political views and how she wanted things to change, how she could affect change. And one of the things that I really liked about Cheryl in dealing with her was, even though her and I didn't agree politically, in a sense, because like I said, she was much more conservative politically than I did find myself agreeing with her on a lot of things during the show, because she wasn't the kind of conservative. When I think of conservatives, I tend to think of them as being sort of these wild-eyed, you know, very extreme in their views. You know, she was more what you'd call, I guess, a compassionate conservative. That was a term that George W. Bush had kind of brought into vogue. You know, she was a conservative who really cared about people, and she wasn't the type of conservative who wanted to eliminate all the social programs from the system. But she believed in having a social safety net in this country and having things like welfare and unemployment insurance, and she understood that those things had to exist and that government had to provide certain things. She wanted to see those things reformed. She wanted to see the fraud, waste, and abuse removed from the system, but she understood that those systems have to exist. She wanted them changed so that people didn't become trapped, because so often people become trapped in that sort of that net, that social safety net that we have. People get comfortable, they get complacent, and then they never get out of it. And she wanted to see the system changed so that people could find their way out instead of getting trapped in the system. And she understood that, and that's what she wanted to fight for. She didn't come on the air and just rail about, you know, how the government's evil, and like a lot of conservatives do, oh, the government's evil and we need to get rid of the government. She didn't do that. She talked about wanting to make the government smaller and more efficient and more effective, but to still have a government that is compassionate and that helps people. And that was something where, you know, I couldn't disagree with her on any of that, to be honest. And so we definitely found a lot of common ground on the show. I know that eventually we would have found some things to really argue about, you know, and I know that her and I, because we kind of joked about it off the air, that her and I were both really looking forward to having those arguments, and that it would have been fun, you know. But unfortunately, we never got the opportunity to do that. But she was very impressive. I was very impressed with Cheryl, and I was so honored when she asked me to be her co-host on the Maher Report, because there's a large network of people. There was such a large network of people around her. There were so many people that she could have asked to fill that role, and she had a lot of friends, and she just knew a lot of people in the political realm, and the fact that she picked me to be her co-host was such an honor to me. I was so honored by that, and I'll always be grateful to her for that opportunity. And we had a great time. Um, I've always enjoyed Wednesdays. For the past few years, getting to do the show with Norm from 4 to 6, but then to get to spend another hour on there and to do an hour with Cheryl was it just made Wednesdays even more fun for me, and I really looked forward to doing the Maher Report with her. So to me, part of what makes me so sad about losing Cheryl is obviously when we lose anyone who leaves behind family and a lot of friends and so many. If you look at her Facebook page, it's obvious there's so many people that loved Cheryl and cared about her, and she touched the lives of many people. And my heart just breaks for her children. It must be brutal. I'm knock on wood. I still have both my mother and father, and I don't even know yet what it's like to lose a parent. And for these kids to have to lose a parent at such a young age, it has to be devastating. And like I said, my heart just breaks for them. But the other thing too that's really that just makes it that much worse, that much more tragic, is when you lose someone who has so much to contribute, someone who wants to make a difference and who could have, I'm sure for a lot of people she already did, but I think with her television show and her goals, kind of her mission statement with that, there's so many more lives that she could have touched, and I think she really could have, over time, made a significant difference, certainly locally and maybe beyond that. And to lose someone who has the intelligence and the drive and the commitment and the compassion for others, to lose someone who has so much to contribute to this world and to bring so much light into it, that's also very, very hard. And it just makes it all so much worse, and so much more heartbreaking. Anyone who knew Cheryl, and like I said, unfortunately, I only got to work with her for a relatively short period of time. But, whether it's Norm and Cheryl were friends, and Norm and I talked for a while before I got on the air tonight. Norm Moody, of course, from Norm and Friends, and Norm had known Cheryl for a while. They had gotten to be very good friends, and anybody who knew Cheryl would tell you that, she was the kind of person who really cared about people and would do anything for anyone. So, taken from us all too soon, and unfairly taken from us in an act of cowardice, by someone who also is no longer with us. But it's just maddening, and it hurts. And I only recently got to know Cheryl over the last few months and got to know her. I can't even begin to imagine how hurt and the pain that people who had known Cheryl for much longer than I and known her much better than I did, what they must be feeling, and what her family must be going through. So, as I said, on Wednesday on Norm and Friends from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern, that will be devoted to Cheryl. I don't know if there's any plans further than that as far as the Maher Report, if we're going to do something Wednesday or not. Kind of leaving that up to Mike Egan, the producer, how he wants to proceed with that. But of course, you can find episodes of the Maher Report here on IPMNation.com, and those are archived here on the site, and they will remain there forever. We're not going to take them down, so that anyone who wants to go back and listen to those shows and download them, you can. And that's another thing too, when we started the TV show, of course, on TV 23 in Manchester, Cheryl was very excited when I told her that, we'll also be able to run the shows on IPMNation.com and to have them on there. And she was really happy to become a part of the IPMNation.com family. And, of course, we were very honored to have her. And, I just, I'm glad that we have that we have her shows on there, and and that we can sort of keep her legacy, which was cut all too short. We can keep that alive on IPMNation.com. And the show was very successful right out of the gate. It shot right into the top 10 shows, and a lot of people were logging on and listening, and of course logging on and watching the show live. So, which she was very happy about, and I was very happy about. So I think everyone concerned was really pleased, and it's tough. This is the second time, as I mentioned, in the last year that we've lost a member of the family here at IPM. Stephen James Blake, who was such an important part of IPMNation.com for so long, from the very beginning, actually. We lost Steve. He passed away back during the holidays at the end of last year, and he was one of my very best friends, and I still think of him every single day. And I suspect I will think of Cheryl every single day as well going forward. She left a very big impression on me and a lot of people. And she didn't know this. I never really expressed this to her, and I wish that I had. But she had an effect on me in a way that she kind of gave me a kick in the ass to go forward on something very specific, a specific goal that I had professionally. And she inspired me to. It was something I've been thinking about doing for a long time, and without knowing it, without necessarily meaning to directly, she inspired me to go forward with that and to do something I had wanted to do, but had kind of procrastinated on it because I was nervous about it. And I won't go into the details of what that is, because I don't want to make this about me. I only mention it because I want everyone to know that she did inspire me as well as so many other people. And in the short time that we worked together and became friends, she actually did have a direct effect on me and inspired me to do something. And I'll always be grateful to her for that, and for being a part of the family. And I heard from a lot of people today. I posted online about that I was going to do this, that I was going to come on the air tonight and just talk for a few minutes, and I'll post a podcast of this, of course. But I did hear from a lot of people today who reached out, and I heard from a lot of people who are also associated with IPMNation.com, who are a part of this family, and it really is a family to me. Some of the people who I work with here on IPM have been with us from the beginning or close to the beginning. Some people have come on recently. It's grown a lot over the past, even just within the last year. We've seen a lot of growth, and the family has just gotten bigger and bigger. And when something like this happens, it really makes me want to it really inspires me to kind of take a moment to really take stock of everything, and to want to let people know, everybody who works on this station and on this website, or whoever has been involved, who maybe doesn't work with us anymore, but anyone who's contributed anything, no matter how big or small, I want all of you to know how much you're all appreciated. And when I talk about it being a family, that's not just something warm and fuzzy to make people feel good. I really mean that. And I always feel that way, but it's days like today that I really feel it's important to let everyone know how much I appreciate everyone's involvement, everyone's support. Everyone who listens to IPMNation.com, everyone who's ever taken an interest in what we do here, anyone who's ever logged into the chat room, anyone who's ever called into one of the shows, anyone who's ever even bothered to send me an email to tell me that, they think we suck. I'm grateful for all of it. I'm so grateful for all of it. We've built something really cool, and it continues to grow. And I'm just grateful to everybody. Every single person who is a part of this family, and I'm grateful for how much support people support each other's shows. They go on each other's shows or call into each other's shows. I love to see that kind of thing. Sometimes little feuds happen. You know who you are. Little flare-ups between the shows. We get some rivalries going. Sometimes friendly rivalries. Sometimes they don't seem all that friendly. But even that stuff, it's sometimes families fight. Makes for good radio. But just that all of you who participate, whether it's as a listener or someone who is directly involved or has been directly involved, I appreciate all of you so very much. And on a day like today, when we lose somebody, is when I really think about how important it is to make sure that everyone knows how much I appreciate all of you. And even though she was a part of our family for a relatively short time compared to a lot of people, I really appreciate that Cheryl was a part of it as well. And in a very short time, she had a very significant impact. And just as Steve did, I mentioned Steve earlier. We lost him at the end of last year, and it did occur to me today, we've lost two people, both of whom had some things in common. They were both very passionate about their political views, and they both were people who so very badly wanted to make a difference in the world and to make the world a better place. And they both were taken from us much too soon. But they both had a very significant and positive impact while they were here. So Cheryl, wherever you are, if you can hear me, we love you, and you'll always be a part of what we do, and thank you. Thank you for having been a part of my life for a short time, and thank you for having been a part of what we do, and thank you on behalf of all the people that you touched. Like I said, one has to only look at your Facebook page and see that you touched a lot of people and had a positive effect on a lot of people. And I just want to remind everyone, this Wednesday on Norm and Friends from 4 to 6 Eastern Time, that will be devoted to Cheryl. And like I said, we'll talk about her memory, and we'll take some calls, and it'll be good to do that. And it's been a very sad day, but hopefully Wednesday, ideally, I think we'd all like Wednesday to be a celebration of her life and the impact that she had on those of us who knew her. So that's the goal for Wednesday. So I think I'm going to sign off now. Retrospectrum Radio, we're gonna do that Thursday night this week. So since we didn't do it tonight, and thanks to Paul for, obviously he understood when I told him what was going on. So and he very graciously said, yeah, of course, we can postpone. And thank you to everybody I heard from today. Heard from a lot of people today. And it'll be IPMNation.com programming resumes tomorrow. We'll get back to it. The shows must go on, as I'm sure Cheryl would want it, but please tune in Wednesday to Norm and Friends, and I want to thank everybody again for tuning in tonight and for all the kind words today. And we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.